Not that long time ago, I think we were reading books and newspapers at a certain distance. We were interacting with people, socializing. We were a lot of time spending also maybe outdoors, but in most cases the life and our activities were focused more or less one by one. In the past 20 years or so, our life has fundamentally changed. And if you take just the recent past, of course, we are challenged. We have these smartphones all the time, close to the nose almost, right? We are sitting in front of monitors at an arm's reach distance, and we have these video conferences. That's the way that many of us socialize these days. If we are outdoors and we spend the time outdoors, we are not trying to accomplish a task by a task, but we are challenged to be multitasking people, right? To do anything connected on the move, the smartphones and everything all the time. And why is that? Because our world is just a visual world, and it's only changing to become more visual. And the fact that we know that our brain is really addressing more than 2/3 of its cognition power and processing power to visual contact. So that's a tremendous impact. And of course the challenge and the question is how to translate this information into real products, tangible products, products that deliver a benefit to you that you can explain to your customers. When we look back for the last 10-15 years, we saw a lot of inventions coming into the lenses that take up this specific viewing zones. I think the biggest improvements have been seen in progressive add lenses, but also in single vision lenses. So already in 2010, we started to take into consideration the visual needs and behavior and lifestyle details from customers. And this is when the ZEISS individual fit technology was introduced, not really dedicated on visual behavior studies, but the first incorporation of individual data resulting in a specific lens design. So one fundamental change occurred in 2014 when ZEISS launched the ZEISS DriveSafe lens. For this lens, although all-purpose lens, there was a task-oriented performance in there to support the driver and to respect his or her visual behavior while driving. And for this development, we started really to use back then modern techniques to understand the eye movements while driving. In simulators, in real driving to some extent, there had been some limitations, but the lens design incorporated the learnings about the demand of vision fields for that product. And this was a game changer in a way that we could now see how we can improve the lens design really based on data and not on assumptions or on some guesswork. And 4 years later, since we further looked into that, it was in 2018 the launch of the ZEISS SmartLife lenses. And this was going beyond a specific task-driven approach, like driving for ZEISS DriveSafe. This was an all-purpose lens addressing the vision needs in our modern, dynamic, on-the-move types of the society. And here again, we looked in the visual behavior, we looked into eye movements, we looked into reading distances. The studies that we executed delivered results. And there were three main findings that I think it's worthwhile to talk about because they are really eye-opening or at least supporting to some extent, and there was a very interesting finding in there. So the first finding in that scenario where we used eye tracking and had people walking around in that scenario with and without smartphones, what we found is that the demand of the vision zone, so the space that is being actively used for us to visually interact, had been increased, significantly increased. The second finding was that this also resulted in different dynamics of our eye movements. So we had much more stimuli very close, in distance, across the field. So this results in very fast dynamics of the eye movements, which also has an impact on how our oculomotoric system actually interacts with the visual eye, the stimuli. The third finding, though, in the first moment was a bit surprising to us because we thought that in the dynamic scenarios, we would have a lot of eye, but also head movements. We would, actively go around, look here, look there, and be everywhere. What we found, however, was that there were lots of eye movements. We talked about this, dynamic eye movements, but the head movements were almost reduced. Very interesting finding because it has an impact on the lens design development. And there's more to learn because if you are intrigued by the findings out of getting closer to the patient or to the customer, to understand even more how he or she behaves in different scenes, to see how technology is evolving, again we talk about evolution, there are things that help us to drive the science and the insights.